awareness month, I want to change tact a little bit, and I want to share some of the realities. And the first reality really is about what it actually means when we use these tidy terms. Hey friends, Melissa from Melissa vs. Fibromyalgia here, and welcome to our Awareness Month. So, I usually take a positive, optimistic, proactive approach when I'm sharing online for the goodness of my mental health and well-being, as well as for yours. I would rather be able to impart tips and tricks that can help you and things that you can do to help you improve, because I spent so long waiting for improvement and for someone who could help. But in Awareness Month, I want to change tact a little bit, and I want to share some of the realities. And the first reality really is about what it actually means when we use these tidy terms. So what does it mean when we say chronic pain? Well, chronic pain actually means ongoing pain. So to be diagnosed with chronic pain, you usually will have had pain for more than 3 to 6 months. Now, when we're talking about the chronic pain associated with fibromyalgia, we're talking about widespread pain. And generally, we're talking about pain that doesn't have origin from, say, an injury. However, it's very complex because we all kind of came into this from a different angle, and we all have different contributing factors. For example, I have myofascial pain syndrome as well. And so, for example, my neck, which is the hardest thing to manage, these trigger points all in there, they are active trigger points. They have a physical cause and they can be treated, but then they also are caused and exacerbated by the same sort of things that cause and exacerbate fibromyalgia. So stress, being sick, other illnesses, all those kinds of triggers affect the same thing. But chronic pain sounds really tidy, right? And it can be a little bit sanitizing to talk about it like that. But what chronic pain really means is that we're in pain all day, every day, and it distracts us and stops us doing our everyday life activities or makes it very difficult. It impacts our sleep. It makes it hard to sleep, and often problem sleeping coexist anyway with fibromyalgia, so it's a vicious circle going on there. And it's constant. And someone like me who has got a really good whole of life plan in place, and I have made a massive difference. I have halved my daily pain and fatigue levels in the last 8 to 10 years. I still have pain every day. I wake up in pain. I spend the whole day in pain. I go to bed in pain. I wake up through the night in pain. And I don't think you'll meet many people who are more proactive than I am. I have a very proactive protocol. I do my stretching. I'm a yoga teacher. I do my meditation. I've got my supplements. I see a physiotherapist every 2 to 3 weeks. All the things, right? No one could say I don't try hard enough, but still, it's all day, every day. And that impacts everything. It impacts your whole life. It makes it difficult to do life. It makes the box, that we have to live in quite small. So when you're living with pain, you have to kind of confine yourself a little bit to be able to manage. But then imagine when you add the fatigue as well and any other issues that come with it as well. It's quite a complex thing. So next time you hear me or someone else say chronic pain, maybe just remind yourself in your head what that means and how pervasive that is for that person. I think that's a really important message this Awareness Day, just so that you know what we are managing. And so when someone like me says my pain is quite bad, or I feel terrible, or I just need to go to bed, or I feel overwhelmed, try and put yourself in my shoes and think what that means. Because if I've got pain all day, every day, and I'm telling you it's pretty bad today, what does that mean? It's pretty stink. So just be wary of that. And also, if someone tells you they've got chronic pain, please don't dismiss it. Please don't say, oh, just do this. Or talk about things as if they could cure us, because 9 times out of 10, we've tried most of what you're suggesting and we've researched it, and it might not work for us. It might not be something that we can do right now, or it might be something the doctor has said hold off on. You just don't know. You really don't know. And we are not going to start giving you medical advice for your diagnosis. So something to be aware of this awareness day. Let me know, do you have chronic pain below? How do you explain it to people? How do you let people know kind of the depth of what it means for you? Or do you even bother to try anymore? Because so many people have kind of gaslighted you, put you down, dismissed it. Let me know. So let's talk about what it means to have chronic fatigue. So chronic fatigue, again, is a very sanitizing word. It doesn't really convey the depth of what we're experiencing. And chronic fatigue is so much more than being a bit tired. Imagine being so tired, but with no way to alleviate it, no way to mitigate it. I mean, yeah, you can rest a little bit, and you can try and sleep, and you can try this, that, and the other thing, but imagine knowing that you are exhausted from the time you wake up to the time you go to bed, but knowing that going to sleep is not necessarily going to help that much. That's fatigue. And the fatigue, imagine it's like a film over your brain. So when you get to a certain level of fatigue, it can be hard to concentrate. It can be hard to remember things. It can be hard to focus and learn new things. It can be hard to articulate things. So one thing for me, I love to learn and I love to research and learn new things. But it's really difficult for me for a long time to actually get the knowledge out of my brain in a coherent manner, which is why I prefer to write things down, because it gives me a chance to kind of think it through and edit and fine tune. Because speaking off the top of my head is hard. Now, I can do it for a lot of things around fibromyalgia now. I've been talking about this for 8 to 10 years online, and I've done a lot of research. But when we're getting into new topics and I'm learning new things, it's so hard for me to share it straight away because I can't access it well. So it took me a long time, for example, for low-dose naltrexone. I knew this medicine helped me, and I read all the research, and I know the mechanisms by which it helps, but it's still difficult for me to get it out of my brain in a coherent manner. And sometimes also fatigue a lot of times fatigue hits physically. So it can feel like you're wading through deep water, like it's so tiring just to do things and move. Some things like having a shower, you probably take that for granted if you don't have chronic pain or fatigue. Having a shower can be exhausting. Cooking dinner can be exhausting. Peeling the potatoes, cutting things up, doing the dishes, just standing for that amount of time is exhausting. Trying to go for a walk. You might think taking a 10-15 minute walk around the block is nothing. For someone with fatigue, that can be quite a feat. I have done very well. I am quite far on my healing journey. I've halved my pain and fatigue levels. But still, for me, 6,000 to 7,000 steps a day is enough. If I do more than that, I get what we call post-exertion malaise. So it's like pain and fatigue after the exertion, which makes it really difficult. So I can actually do the thing. So I could take a long walk, for example, and it would have to be I'd have to be in pretty bad shape, and the walk would have to be pretty long for me to feel it at the time. But the next day, the fatigue and the pain is out of this world. Like if I overdo it, my legs and my low back burn just because of overdoing it. So there's no real built-in mechanism to say stop now please. So we've got to watch our Fitbits. We've got to use our Fitbits or other trackers to kind of modify our activities, reduce our activities, keep our heart rate low. So it's really important when you have fatigue not to overdo it and get your heart rate really high, because that just makes everything worse. And another kind of side effect, when your fatigue gets really bad, some people suffer postural orthostatic intolerance. And so when my fatigue is really bad, if I try to get up too quickly, I get very dizzy and I nearly faint and fall down. Because the blood flow needs time. Our body needs time to readjust to the change in position. So it's really deep in there. There's a lot going on. Fatigue impacts everything. I mean, digestion takes a lot of energy. So can you imagine if you've got a lot of energy going into your digestion and a lot of energy just to walk down the block and back and cook dinner? There's not a lot left for everything else. Chronic fatigue is all day, every day. Chronic fatigue is potentially a little bit mitigated by rest, but not really. There's no time where we wake up with full energy. It's chronic by definition. So think about all of those things next time someone tells you they have chronic fatigue. Think about the fact that they probably have to go to bed early. They probably miss out on things they want to do. They probably can't work as much as they want or do hobbies as much as they want. They probably can't be there for their kids as much as they want. or if they are doing these things, they're probably not feeling great. I try and stay out late sometimes, but I inside just feel so bad. Like you just kind of start to fade away, and then I actually start to feel physically sick. I'm not sure the mechanism by which that happens, but just be aware of that's what it's like, right? And so if someone with chronic fatigue says, could we maybe hang out earlier in the day, they're not doing it to be fussy, they're doing it to make it so that they can really enjoy your company. So that's just a little snapshot of what it's really like living with fatigue. Other people, I'd love it if you could share your experience as well, because mine is obviously very different. I'm very far on my journey, and we're all different and we all have existing factors. So share your journey and your knowledge, please. Let me know how you explain chronic fatigue to people, if you even bother anymore, so that we can also share that knowledge, because it can be really difficult to explain it. Obviously, it's taken me 6 minutes to try and explain it. So if I've been doing this for 8 to 10 years, it's kind of difficult to make it succinct. So we've talked about chronic pain, we've talked about chronic fatigue. Now I want to talk about insomnia. What does it mean to have chronic insomnia? It sounds so tidy to say chronic insomnia, and other people might think, oh yeah, sometimes I have difficulty sleeping, sometimes I can't go to sleep easily. You just don't know what you don't know. Let me explain. The sleep issue associated with fibromyalgia can include difficulty falling asleep, difficulty staying asleep, waking up too early, but the biggie is inability to get quality sleep. Here's what it's like. You wake up in the morning and you feel like you haven't slept. You feel terrible. You feel lethargic. You feel like maybe 6 more hours of sleep would be great, and so you have to drag yourself out of bed. Then you spend the whole day knowing that you want to go to bed, but it's probably not going to help that much. And so you can see how there's much more to it than just struggling with sleep, right? So then you've got the daytime fatigue, then you've got the inability to concentrate, short-term memory loss, difficulty just managing all the things because you're so tired, right? And that's compounded, of course, if you have chronic fatigue as well and chronic pain as well, because they all mishmash together. It's harder to sleep when you have pain and fatigue, and that is just a vicious cycle. One thing that's really helped me, and I know this is not meant to be practical, but I can't help it, is Yoga Nidra guided meditation. So that helps me have profound rest. Where sleep does not do that for me, Yoga Nidra does. So I will do a 30-minute Yoga Nidra each afternoon, and that makes a real difference for me. It helps me get through the day, but I've also noticed that as long as I do my Yoga Nidra, it's easier to get to sleep in the nighttime. So my theory is that if I don't do the Yoga Nidra, by the time I get to bedtime, I'm just overtired and my body is wired and I cannot get to sleep as easily. So Yoga Nidra is really important for helping me rest, but also get to sleep. That's my absolute favorite ever. I've got Yoga Nidra videos here on the tube, and I've got a whole course about it because I love it that much. It's actually my first recommendation for anyone with pain, fatigue, insomnia, overwhelm, anybody actually in the whole world, because everyone is stressed. I mean, look at what's going on. But the focus of today, so that's what it really means to have chronic insomnia. So think about if you've ever had a night where it was tricky for you to get to sleep or stay asleep, and you've woken up a bit tired. Imagine that being your life every single night for years. I have not slept well in a very long time. So can you imagine what that's like? So that's the point of these videos at the moment, is to just try and explain the reality. It sounds so tidy when I say, oh, I have chronic insomnia, and you're like, oh yeah, I get tired, or I have trouble sleeping, but it's not the same. So next time anybody around you or your person tells you that they're tired or having trouble sleeping, maybe say, hey, what can I do to help? Because actually probably the main thing you can do is just eliminate any distractions from their sleep. Let them go to bed when they need to go to bed. Don't let anything wake them up in the night. If you're going away, do everything you can to protect their sleep environment. But again, I keep digressing into practical tips. So I'll leave it there. Let us know, how do you explain chronic insomnia and its impact on your life? And don't forget to check out my other videos in this series, and I'll catch you again soon.